Hey, Shawnee from SpeedCubeReview.com. So let's talk about the basics of FMC. So for the fewest moves, there are some things you can do and some things you can't do. Let's first talk about how it's set up. You're going to be given a paper, and that paper is going to look something like this, and that's going to have the Scramble on it. Now, you can use that Scramble to find your solution, but you cannot use a Scramble in your solution. You can't just take it out and move it in, or even just do the whole Scramble in reverse. That's not allowed. At the end, a judge can ask for you to go through how you got to your conclusion. So you will have to go through how you went through it. Now, some moves are allowed and some moves are not. You can do anything that's an outside layer move. So for example, R and R prime are allowed, as well as R2. Same thing for any of the other outside layers. You cannot do middle slices. So M, E, or S are not allowed. If you do, let's say you want to do an M prime move, what you'll have to do is an R prime L. You could then also add an X to reposition the cube. Any of the rotation things like X, Y, and Z are not counted as moves, but you are given 80 spots to write in your solution, and those X, Y, and Z, even though they do not count as moves in the 80, they will be on the paper and will limit how many other moves you can put down. I will highly suggest to not even use X, Y, or Z moves. This took me a little while to understand because if, let's say, I'm so used to making the first two layers on white or yellow and I want to do it on green, it's going to make sense for me to say do a X prime and then do my whole solution, because it's a little bit easier for me to visualize. But I noticed no one else was doing that. What you want to do is just not even have the cube a certain direction, and each face will just still have the same letter. Green will always be F, white will always be U, and so even if the cube, I'm holding it like this, I know this is an F prime move and an F move. A way to remember that is pretty easy with the colors. Red is R, blue is B, W for white is U. I know that's different in some languages, because W, but white is U. And then just the opposite for green is front, from front and back, orange is left, and yellow is D. So you can do the whole solution without worrying about what orientation it is and just looking at the colors. Now, this was a little bit confusing when I got to algorithms, but after a few times doing it, it was much, much easier. Going on to how you find a solution. There are a lot of times I've seen people ask, what is the best method for FMC? And they usually ask something like CFOP or ZZ or RU or Petrus. None of those really are that good because on average you'll have mid-50s to mid-60s amount of moves. RU is a little bit better at first, but you have then a bunch of M moves which you can't do. Well, you can, but they would be double. There is a method called Heis, which is building a bunch of 2x2x1 blocks and then orienting the top and then using a commutator to fix the corners. It can be on average about 40 moves, but you're again limiting yourself to one method. So if your ask is what method is best, no method. Not sticking to any method and just building blocks up and finding different ways to come to the solution. You really want to think outside the box. Of all the solutions that I've done for this, there's a lot of different ones, a lot of different ways I came about it. Now, that's not to say something like CFOP can't work. One of my fastest solves after I reconstructed it was only 34 moves, which is pretty fantastic for an FMC solve. Like I said in my video going over my month of it, when I looked up different times or different results from other competitions, there was only about 10% that were under 30 moves at Worlds 2015, and under 50 moves would put you in the top half of the solvers for their averages. So this is a solution I did to solve I did mid-November, and it's pretty straightforward halfway through. And then I throw in something a little bit different, which is an insertion, and then I continue on with the rest of the solve. So first, let's do this Scramble. What's nice about this is you can see and make sure you scrambled it correctly. Then I get a 2 by 2 by 1 block by doing, and where's that one? That one's right there. Then I do another 2 by 2 by 1 block right there. And then as I keep going, let's see here. And that created this 2 by 2 by 3 block plus a little bit more. Now, I'm not expecting you to follow exactly how my thought process on this just yet, but how a solve might look. Now, I inserted some more moves here, and I'll talk about that when I get to the insertions video, and I'll come back to this exact one. So, so that moved a few pieces around. And then our D. And I've got finishing F2L, B2, U prime, B prime, U, B2, U prime, B, U. And then, as you can see, I'm solving this with blue on bottom, although I'm just keeping the cube like this. When you're figuring it out, like I said before, I know this is the U, so I can just do U prime or U depending on what I'm going to need to do. So for example, for this algorithm right here, for this OLL, we've got L, which is that move, and then B, U, B prime, U prime, L. And that's a solution. So what happened in this is I was solving it, and after I got to the OLL, I ended up with a U permutation. And instead of just doing a U permutation on the cube, I inserted a different type of U permutation or different type of algorithm in that middle. And I'll go over that, like I said, in another video. So that is FMC. So part 2 is going to go over block building, some tips with that, and some ways that you can utilize block building and not limit yourself to just one side. So thank you very much, and I will see you in the next video.